I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is rest. I think that that's probably a word that a lot of us don't even know how to spell, so to speak. But we're going to talk about the importance of rest for recuperating and nourishing our soul and spirit. So before we get started, let's just take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding into your lungs and flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing every cell, every organ, lighting you up, energizing you. And as you exhale any stress, tension, negativity, fatigue, toxicity. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And this time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, energizing all your electrons, all your molecules, lighting your cells up to create a glow from the inside out. And as you exhale any tension, any stress, any remaining fatigue or negativity. And now let's just gently press our palms together and very softly rub your fingers against your palms just to feel how delicious that remarkable sensation is and how amazing it is to be here in the physical and to be able to experience all these things. So it's Friday. Welcome, welcome. And today we're talking about rest because I don't know about you, but I kind of slide into the weekend just or just get over the finish line of the week sometimes, and I really need a day to recuperate. Good morning, good morning, good morning, Robert. It's great to be here with you and everybody else who's joining us. It's always such a pleasure to have these times in the morning to share together, get this day started right. So I think, we've talked about boundaries and thresholds in the past here, and I think that rest is something that fits into that kind of conversation pretty well. In that, uh, I think oftentimes, good morning, Andrea. Welcome. So good to have you here with us. I think that oftentimes we end up going beyond our thresholds of of exhaustion or expending energy without uh, re revitalizing ourselves, without replenishing ourselves. And the you know it's interesting. I was having a conversation with a friend, and we were talking about feeling depleted versus feeling tired. And I think like being physically exhausted. Good morning, Dennis. Top of the morning to you too. We talked about the distinction between, or we were making a distinction between being physically exhausted and being depleted. And in some way I can see where they're one and the same, but I think that I think Maggie's apple. I think that we can we can be exhausted and still be very full. Like when we've had a very enriching experience, we're just over full with information or processing. That's not a state of depletion. It can be a state of exhaustion, but it's not really a state of depletion. I think a lot of us expend energy to the point where we actually are depleted and we need to refresh and replenish. Robert says definitely resting is needed, especially after an exhausting week. And it's so interesting to me to be looking at the fact that at the end of the week I am exhausted. And it's interesting because it's not like I'm having lots and lots of physical activity, and it's not like I am constantly on the go, but I think that there's a lot. I do work with clients, and I hadn't realized until. Good morning, Isabel. Welcome, welcome. Great to have you joining us for this Friday. We're talking about rest and replenishing. Um, I hadn't really realized until this past January how really exhausting, or how, I'm going to say, depleted. I well, I don't know if it's depleted. Anyway, how really exhausted I can get after a week, and certainly after multiple months of these weeks that are very full of working energy work. And I guess I hadn't really acknowledged how much energy it took from me, for me, to do the work that I do. It's really interesting because the work itself is so enlivening and enriching, and yet at the end of the week, or at the end of several months, I'm just really, really, really need to regroup and recalibrate, and just rest, like do nothing. And I do that a lot, like on Saturdays. It turns out, for the most part, Saturdays are my day of rest, where I'll be in the bath for hours, and just really not require myself to do anything, to just allow myself to relax. Isabel says, me too, but I work a lot and long hours. I feel there are something in the airwaves are exhausting all of us more. I think that you're onto something there, Isabel. I think that there's an intensity brewing that is not necessarily visible. That there's stuff going on under the fold, or behind the curtain, or whatever, that those of us that are involved in energetic type work are experiencing more deeply. Maggie's agreeing. She might be experiencing it too. Anyway, it's very interesting to just feel this sense of exhaustion. So when we talk about rest, besides acknowledging the need for rest, what are the kinds of things that you guys do to rejuvenate, replenish, and revitalize yourselves? I was thinking about, wow, I really need some rest. And what came to mind for me is, now that the weather's nicer, maybe going to the beach, um, and putting my feet in the sand, and not doing anything else other than being in the sun and with the water, and hearing the waves, and feeling the breeze, and maybe even wading into the water, to and walking along the beach to revitalize and energize. Good morning, Lisa. Great to have you here with us. We're talking about rest. So I'm wondering, like for me, the bath is a um, really healing thing, just being in water. And like I said, being at the beach. And hello, Tina, welcome. So good to have you here. We're talking about rest. So it's so funny. I don't know if you noticed, but Maggie is throwing apple everywhere, and I just wonder, how does she ever get any food in her body? Because there's like debris that she scatters everywhere. This is Maggie. If you're new to joining us, she's the star of the show, and today she's enjoy. She loves apples, but if they go, it goes everywhere. Anyway, Lisa says that's what I do. I go to the Jersey Shore most weekends. I used to do that a lot, and my dad used to live at the shore, and down in Margate. And I have to say, I haven't been back there since he passed, and I'm missing the beach and the ocean, and just being in the vastness of being able to look out on a horizon of water, and feeling the all the textures and sensations of sun and sand and water. And so I'm thinking maybe I'll do that. Just take a ride down to the shore. I don't have a place to stay there these days, but it's not so far that I couldn't do a day trip. And I'm even thinking of taking Maggie with me, although that could be a disaster. I have this wonderful leash for her. She doesn't like it so much, but it allows me to take her outside without concern that she'll fly away and get lost. Anyway, um, what do you do for rest? So some of you go to the shore, and there's being in nature is so nourishing, right? To just be breathing. Sandy Hook is beautiful and quite peaceful. Very cool, Lisa. Very cool. I don't think I've ever been to Sandy Hook. One of the favorite places that I have gone in the past, especially when I had a dog, was Long Beach Island State Park, Long Beach Island State Park, because it's dog friendly, and it was kind of wild with dunes, and a very cool place to go. And my dog, her name was Gypsy, and it's been, oh my gosh, it's been maybe more than 30 years since Gypsy was with me. Hard to believe I can say that. But so anyway, Island Beach State Park, not Long Island, Island Beach State Park. That's what it was. Anyway, so what other kinds of things do you do to rest? Do you find meditation restful? Um, I, I I sometimes just true confession, zone out on with the TV on, to be having a show, and I can kind of not have my mind super engaged, and I can just relax. Um, I just giving myself space, even surfing the web, and going down rabbit holes to learn something new, or to just see some fun videos. Maggie, Maggie. So see, she's getting trained so that as soon as I get up, those of you who have been regulars here know that Maggie is really working hard to kill an amazing plant that I have in the window over there. And so we have this ongoing battle. When I'm online, she thinks she knows that I'm not going to come after her. So we're training each other. So Lisa says, I was there last month. I think we're going to Ocean City this weekend. So Ocean City, if you're going to Ocean City, New Jersey, that's really near Margate, which for anybody else who is not from the area, it's near Atlantic City. I imagine you've heard of Atlantic City. So Robert says, for recharging, I used to listen to an hour-long meditation. And yeah, so Maggie, meditation meditation is a really powerful way to recharge. Um, and there's so many meditations that we can find online that are really wonderful and rich, and guided meditations, and also even silent meditation. Isabel says, besides sleeping as much as I need, that's my next best retreat, to go to the beach and walk by the ocean. Yeah, I just, it feels good to think about it. Like my heart is calling to be near the ocean. It's been a long time. I really wonder what she'll do, because I want to take her with me. It'll be fun to see. Um, yeah. So, what other kinds of things? I wonder. Like, do you guys do walking meditations? Have you ever done a walking meditation? I think I did walking meditation for the first and probably the last times, years and years ago, when I was at the Monroe Institute in, I think it was in Virginia. Um, and the Monroe Institute is this really cool place that was founded by a guy named Robert Monroe, who in the 50s, I think, had an out of body experience and thought he was going crazy, and went to all kinds of doctors and had brain scans. This is before out of body experiences were common knowledge. And eventually he met somebody who told him that in India they do that all the time. And he said he didn't want to go to India. So he set up this foundation to be researching these altered states of consciousness. And you may have heard of hemisync technology, binaural beats, where there's a different rhythm in stereo in either ear. And it helps to entrain brain frequencies to altered states of awareness, to give us greater access to the vast information network and a sea of information that we are constantly navigating through. And so we were doing all these meditations, lots and lots of guided meditations, and there was a walking meditation also, as I recall. I've registered. I'm very excited. The week, unless something goes sideways with family health, I'm going to be going to an intensive Joe Dispenza workshop in the beginning of June, from June 7th to the 13th. So I won't be, we'll be playing replays that week, and maybe even the week before, I'm not sure. But I know they do walking meditation there, and I'm looking forward to that. It should be a very intensive, amazing experience. Joe Dispenza is doing some awesome research with all these big intensives that he's doing, again, about accessing other dimensions of consciousness and other aspects of this vast sea of information that's available to us. And the research that he's doing is hooking people up to heart monitors and brain monitors to be able to observe the brainwave function and observe blood pressure and heart. And they're getting some really amazing data to validate, to actually create science behind all these things that those of us who have been meditating for a while, or working with other dimensions already know, but that science needs to prove somehow. So let's see. I have to catch up on some comments here. So Robert says, nowadays I sometimes lay down with my eyes closed for 15 to 30 minutes. It can be as simple as that. And actually, one of the things that really provides restfulness for me is breathing, being conscious about my breath, breathing first into my belly and then allowing that to move into my chest, and then consciously exhaling, and just allowing myself with each breath to deepen and release and relax. And I find that it's very, very restful, even when I wake up in the middle of the night. to be doing that breathing allows me to get rest, to become more rested, even though I may not be sleeping. So it's super powerful. Isabel says meditation and watch relaxing documentary or movie. I didn't do yet a walking meditation, but I want to. Joe Dispenza motivates that for sure, for sure. There are, if you guys haven't are unfamiliar with Joe Dispenza, there are lots and lots of really wonderful free meditations, guided meditations that he does available for free on YouTube. So I highly recommend it, his work and his books. Um, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself is one of his books, and one of my favorite quotes from Joe Dispenza is, "We are gods in the flesh." You know, that ultimately who we are is source energy made manifest in the flesh, and we have capacities way beyond what we tend to imagine. And so tapping into those other other dimensions and those other realms is a is sort of a mainstay of his work. Lisa says, I usually fall asleep during meditation, especially guided meditations. I used to too, Lisa, all the time. And so a walking meditation might be a really good thing for you. It would keep you from falling asleep unless you're really good at sleepwalking. Welcome, Hari He. Welcome, welcome. Wonderful to have you here. And Isabel says, I would love that, but so expensive. I agree. It's tremendously expensive. And actually, I had registered for it last year, and then it was canceled due to COVID. And I've been paying it off through the year. So, you know, now it's finally paid for, except I also have to pay for the transportation and the hotel. So, yeah, it's a big it's a big commitment. It's a big chunk financially for sure. Rosalind said, and I'm very grateful to be in a position uh, to do it. You know, and to be able to carry that expense over time, but still, you know, it's I'm very excited to be doing it. It's a huge commitment, huge gift to myself. So Rosalind says, I started coloring. Oh, how cool. Looking at all the color gel pens choices and picking out a color as more colors are applied to the page. I think it supports all the color combo possibilities. That's beautiful. You know, so I don't know if you guys, coloring is awesome, is really, really awesome. And along that line, I want to share with you this other site, which you may or may not be familiar with. I'm just getting the the website to be able to put the link in the chat for you. Hold on one second. You'll really, I think you'll really, really like this. It's called Zen Tangle. Zen Tangle. And it's sort of structured drawing. So like creating these patterns, and it's very meditative to just be doing these repetitive patterns and making these really beautiful drawings. You don't have to be an artist to be an artist. It's just it's really, really beautiful. So thank you, Isabel. Thank you. Yes, I'm very excited to be treating me to Joe Dispenza. But check out, you know, as far as something that's restful, Zentangle is like drawing meditation, and that can be very rewarding. It's beautiful, and it's actually really quite easy. You don't have to be consider yourself an artist to be making these beautiful doodles. There, it's beyond doodles, really. It's just beautiful patterns, and I find it really enjoyable. And you can take it to all different degrees. People have made all kinds of things. They even have a training for Zentangle and a teacher's certification, the whole thing. So it's a pretty cool practice. So drawing, coloring, maybe doing artwork, maybe playing music. So I have this wonderful little metal drum, a tongue drum. So it has these cutouts, or they're not holes, but they're sort of incisions in the drum that have all these make all these different notes when you hit it with a mallet. And the tones are wonderful, and sometimes I just get into playing that, and that can be really meditative and transporting and restful, revitalizing. So Lisa says, some say it's similar to sacred geometry, the Zentangles. Well, it certainly can be. It certainly can be. Um, I I I find them really fun and beautiful, and I would like to learn some more of them to be able to use it more regularly. To play with it more often. You can paint them, you can shadow them, um, but I think it's interesting when you say, Lisa, that some say it's similar to sacred geometry. I think that the energy that we put into the drawing as we're drawing it imbues it with a certain um, frequency. I'm just going to say frequency. I think that then we put this calm, concentrated, focused energy into doing the drawing, and then the drawing emanates that vibration, so to speak. So yeah, what else do you guys do? Some people clean to relax. That's I'm not usually one of those people, but sometimes I get into it, and there's something very focused and absorbing about cleaning, or can be, where it's not just a to do, but like really being present. And then afterwards, my apartment, just the energy is so different when I've gone through and I've cared for it. So it's kind of like the same kind of caring that we do if we do something like coloring or Zentangles. And another thing that I find really relaxing and revitalizing sometimes is cooking, or making fermented foods, doing creative things, where we're able to get into that space that's like the zone, where time goes by and you're not really alert to its passing, and just you get absorbed in something, and that can be very, very nourishing. I for a while, I haven't done it for a while, but I was doing felting with um, with raw fiber, uh, sheep's wool, or different kinds of wools, and roving and mixing in some other materials, and it was very um, focused and intentional. There's a lot of rubbing or agitating the fiber so that it would interlock and create the felt. So creative endeavors can be very, very restful. So Isabel says, I do that for a living, so no longer relaxing. I'm not sure what it is you do for a living, Isabel. What is that you do? I'm very curious. Maybe you do cooking, or cooking, cleaning, artwork. I'm not sure. Um, It's interesting that for a living, sometimes we choose to do things for a living that we love doing, and then because we're doing them for a living, cleaning. I got you, Isabel. So no longer relaxing. I can understand that. Um, I I had a restaurant at one time, and during that time, cooking was not relaxing. In fact, I didn't cook for a couple of years at least after that. So yeah, when we try to make a living at something we love, it can potentially take the love out of that thing for us. And that's an interesting paradox. But I went into the restaurant because I love cooking, and it it lost its joy for me for quite a while. Thankfully, that's returned. And creating in the kitchen is something that's very nourishing for me. No pun intended. We'll say yes. Anyway, so we're going into the weekend, and I hope that you take the opportunity to really take advantage of the opportunity to rest. So, and I think that a lot of times we we don't put the the importance on rest that it deserves. That when it comes to a choice between doing more from a place of exhaustion and pushing and pushing and pushing versus stopping and resting and nourishing ourselves, we often opt for the doingness, thinking that um, resting is self-indulgent. But I don't think it's self-indulgent. I think it's self-preservation. I think it's essential. And Rosalind says sporadic rest looks like sprawling out on the floor to lay with the cat and dog. I love it. I love it. Or picking weeds on a sunny day and drinking my morning coffee with all of you when picking weeds became a chore, like something I have to do. Then I used a flamethrower hooked up to a propane tank. Hopefully the seeds don't regerminate. That's a riot, Rosalind. I could just picture you with a flamethrower, attacking the weeds. That's a riot. Too funny. Lisa says, don't forget to ground too. Grounding with Mother Earth is amazing. I agree. And the shore is a wonderful place to do that. And the forest, of course, even just a lawn, right? Wherever you can get your feet on the ground, on the dirt, even, it's a wonderful thing to connect back to the earth. So, on that note, I wish you a wonderful weekend of rest and relaxation and replenishment. And I think we'll call it a week. I'm Mira Rubin. This is Maggie. And we go live each weekday morning with the Core Connection at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page. So please check out the other programming on Enlightened World Network and have an amazing weekend. I wish you all rest and revitalization and